Hello, YouTube viewers. Welcome to another edition of Jackson's Journal. My name is Matthew Jackson, and today I want to talk to you about closed-mindedness. What does that mean exactly? And we've probably heard that term a lot when you hear the two sides debating and one side's will not be able to prevail on the other side. So a lot of times they'll default to the thing of, well, you're just closed-minded, you're not open-minded. So what does being closed-minded and open-minded really mean? Now, what brought all this on is last week I had a internet conversation on social media, Facebook in particular, where there was a video shown. The video was posted on a friend's timeline or news feed, I should say. And it was basically a video of a bunch of young school kids. I would say they're probably middle school aged because they weren't old enough to be in high school, and they weren't old enough, at least they didn't look old enough to be in high school. They didn't look old enough to be in elementary school. They looked like they were probably the sixth or seventh grade range, something like that. They went on a tour, and this is about maybe 25 to 30 kids. They went on a field trip to a mosque. And in so doing, they went inside the mosque, lined up behind the prayer rugs, and then the imam would lead an exercise for these kids and kind of give them an introduction into Islam. And of course, he would recite the things that they recite during a service inside of a mosque. And if you know anything about Islam, they will stand up and recite something, then they'll kneel, then they'll bow, stand back up, kneel, bow. There's a whole rigmarole that they do. So anyway, this imam basically led them in this exercise and had the kids. Now the kids, they weren't forced to do this. They did this on their own volition. He did it by example, and the kids just followed. And some of the kids weren't taking it all that seriously because you could hear some of them giggling as they were doing it. But one of my comments was on that post, I says, I cannot imagine that any of these kids, none of them had been well grounded in the Christian faith, because had any of them had been, I don't think they would have actually participated in that exercise. And I also made another comment that these kids are being, let's say, the organizers of the mosque are trying to plant seeds in these kids, seeds in a favorable light to make Islam look good. So that way, years down the road, they might convert later as opposed to right now. So, the leaders of the mosque and the whole field trip thing, it was a designed thing. It's part of the indoctrination. It's part of the long-term plan. And there was one individual who responded to my assertions, and basically it was a young lady, and she was basically insulting me, calling me a moron, calling me closed-minded, calling me a bigot, blah, blah, blah. So she really resorted to more name calling than actual substantive responses to what I was saying. And after, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 insults, I finally decided to click her link and get more background and look at her Facebook page. Come to find out, she's just a 20-year-old girl. So that in and of itself told me just about everything I needed to know about this individual. And so at that point, what's the point in debating this person? What's the point in using all the powder that it would take to blow this person away? The proverb says, don't answer a fool according to their folly. And but her only really substantive retort, well, I wouldn't even call it substantive. She just said, well, you're closed-minded. So let's talk about what that means exactly. Now, in my case, I'm 62 years old. I'm more than 3 times older than this girl who was insulting me. All right. So I have a lot more life experiences. I was reading up on Islam back in the 80s before she was even born. And she was born in 1999. Now, I don't know if that makes her a millennial, which would be a generation Y, or if she's a generation Z, I guess, which it just depends on which sociologist you talk to, because some put the millennials or from 80 to 95, and then everybody born after that is Generation Z. Some sociologists will say from 80 to 2000 are your millennials. So go pick. But anyway, yeah, this is a young individual that barely knows anything. It's got a lot of growing up to do. But suffice it to say, in my case, when it comes to the issue of Islam, I've seen what they've done. I've read up on their history, know a lot about their history, at least a lot more than this young lady knows. I mean, if anybody knows anything about Islam, their whole religion, the whole propagation of their religion has been founded on bloodshed. All right? It's really ironic that the Muslims will make a big deal out of the Crusades that the Christians did or the Catholics did in the middle centuries, 10th, 11th, 12th centuries, when they tried to retake Jerusalem. They'll make a big to do that, but really, the Muslim religion has done nothing but launch crusades. They're the biggest crusaders on the planet, so I always find it very amusing that Muslims are offended by the crusades that the Catholic Church did, the Roman Catholic Church back in the middle centuries. But suffice it to say, they've done a lot of state sponsor of terrorism. They believe in Sharia law. I actually have a copy of the Quran. I've read the Quran. I've seen what they do, seen them fly jets in the buildings. All right. So, in other words, my opinion of the Islam religion has been formulated based on study and based on fact. It's not a knee-jerk reaction. I remember when I had small children, when my kids were small, and we'd be introducing a new food to them to eat, and they would say, "Ooh, I don't like that." And we would say, "Well, have you tasted the food? Don't you think maybe you should taste the food first and then make a judgment?" Well, now that's a good example of closed-mindedness, not coming to a conclusion without actually doing some research and having facts. I remember back a long time ago, back in the 90s, I was debating a retired Stanford University professor, and we were debating gun control, or having an argument or discussion, not a formal debate. At any rate, as we were debating each other, it dawned on me that this woman really did not know the difference between a semi-automatic weapon and an automatic weapon. So I asked her point blank, I says, "Do you know the difference between a semi-automatic weapon and an automatic weapon?" And her response was, "No, I don't know the difference, and I don't want to know the difference." Now that is closed-minded. So you could take a whole range of issues, not just religion. You could take, I had to purchase a car recently. Well, I had to do my research. I had so much money that I was willing to spend, and there were certain cars that were available, certain cars that weren't available. I had to make choices, based on research. So closed-mindedness is not necessarily a bad thing. Because if you do research and you come to conclusions, but I've been alive for 62 years, had a lot of life experiences, and, you arrive at certain conclusions on certain things, honestly, and it's, so yeah, by a younger person's standard, yeah, that would probably be considered closed-minded. But to an older person who's had more life experiences, done more research, is more educated on things. It's a matter of choice and selective choice. So that's the point I wanted to make in this video, is that closed-mindedness is not always a bad thing. It might be a good thing. I'm very closed-minded to playing with rattlesnakes. I'm closed-minded to a lot of things, okay, but it's based on honest research and life experience. So, thank you for watching. Have a good day and take care. God bless. Dios te bendiga.